Moving on. So this is also very similar to blocking your way. Now a person isn't physically, now a person is physically touching you. So in that case, it wasn't. But this person tries to grab you, pull you, and some of this context is actually a lieutenant that people in parties. Right, so I go to a party or a bar, and this person's trying to be all like cool and calm and sleazy, like, "Hey, beautiful lady, come with me," and tries to take you away. So it's not a grab like a domestic violence type grab, like I'm gonna drag you and put you on the floor, but still touching and taking you and pulling your hand in some sense.
Yeah.
So and you're uncomfortable. So in that case, and in fact, one of my students also said that she was in a gym and this person kept bear hugging her from the side several times, and so he was constantly like, "Ha, come here," kind of, I don't know. So she was super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So those kinds of situations where you're being grabbed and pulled, and you're not necessarily sure what to do. You're uncomfortable. You don't want this person to do that. What are your options?
Yeah. Don't let it happen. I wish, right? I share a story often. When I was a teenager, I was not supposed to ride the bus. But of course, as a teenager, I snuck out with a bunch of friends and was riding the bus. I was in the bus tunnel in Seattle, and I was grabbed. And so here I am, a teenager who was, my father was a police chief, was not supposed to be sneaking out. I was not supposed to be in Seattle. My parents thought I was at a sleepover at a friend's house. So don't tell my children that story. And I was walking by someone on a bench, and he reached out and grabbed my arm.
Ooh, why?
I don't really know why. Looking back now, knowing what I know as an adult, I'm sure that he was probably panhandling, or he saw this girl who obviously was in overhead in the city because I had no city experience. Or he was just being funny or messing with me. All I know is that I pulled my hand. I have 4 brothers, so I was used to wrestling. So I did a push-pull on my hand without knowing what the maneuver was. To get my arm back, and turned and yelled and broke the distance and then got away. My friends that I was with, we were all shocked. That broke the contact. Luckily, I think he was surprised at my reaction just as much as I was surprised at my reaction.
Yes.
But yes, absolutely not. People, really, you own your body. You own the boundary around your body. I push young women especially to set the boundary of where they're comfortable with, and nobody crosses that threshold without your consent. And if they do, take your body back, show them what the line is. And so in a maneuver like that, I will pull my arm back. I will just pull it if I'm strong enough. And when I'm saying push-pull, it is just a maneuver where you're moving towards someone to get momentum and then pulling back, because sometimes people who are grabbing you might be stronger than you. And so, and I will verbally tell people, get back, stop. I talk with my hands,
Yes.
and I will say, no, get back and stop. I have found some people are very bad with personal space, and culturally too, there's different norms of what is okay with touching and crossing boundaries. And so sometimes you're interacting with someone who is from a very touchy-feely culture, and that's not your comfort level. And so I have found with those people, when you're telling them, hey, this is my line, they're going to back off out of respect for you. And again, the way someone reacts to you setting a boundary tells you what kind of situation you're in. Was this a cultural misunderstanding? Was this someone who thought we had a type of friendship we didn't have?
Yes.
Or is this a person who really was pushing my boundaries to try to see how far they could push me and take me to a place where I'm uncomfortable, right? Did they have ill intent? Were they trying to set me up for something? So in a situation like that, where someone is in a social gathering and they're reaching to try to grab your arm or bring you with them, my advice is to stop it as fast as you can.
Okay.
And I'm not saying turn and heel strike.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask
Yeah.
that. So I know reasonable force, right? So what level of force can you apply to this person, right? Because there's people who are scared and not going to do anything, and there's the other extreme, they're going to be like, how dare you, and take that person down.
It's all about how you articulate it, right? I am 5'6". I know my strength and abilities. I know my age. I know my training. What I am going to do is going to be different from what you are going to do. It's going to be different from what a 17-year-old is going to do. I am going to be able to articulate. He was grabbing my arm and saying, come with me. I don't know who this person is. My friends were not with me. I didn't know where he was going to take me. I was in an uncomfortable place, and he didn't listen when I said stop. That's going to be a different reaction. That might be I turn and I shove you, or I push off, or I elbow, or I do any of the things that I need to do. Versus I was at work and a coworker came up and grabbed my elbow and said, hey, let's go over here. this is someone I'm acquaintance with, I have somewhat of a trusting relationship with, he's just kind of crossed my line. And then that, it's going to be a, hey, please don't touch me that way, or please stop. Because you're probably not going to spin and elbow your coworker's face if it's a misunderstanding. Yeah. So the context is important, and you need to know where you are. Can you say, he was a foot taller than me, I felt unsafe, my heart was racing, I was afraid, my senses were telling me that I was in danger, the look on his face was intimidating, he was not listening to the words coming out of my mouth. The way you articulate is going to guide the forced decision that you make, because you need to be able to explain why you made the decision you made.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, it really comes down to practice and training, right? So train how to get out of different kind of grabs, and you're just going to do it like muscle memory.
Yes.
And I tell this story a lot to people. They probably overheard it now. I was in Mercer Island at the time, and there was a guy on a bike who stopped at the red light, and I was a pedestrian, and he kept revving his bike. And so he did it super loud, and I was right next to him on the sidewalk, and it shocked me, and just instinctively I yelled really loudly. I said, "Hey!" And I said it so loud, everybody across the crosswalk just stopped and stared at me. And this guy just froze because he did not expect that. And then I was going to say more, but after I overcame my shock of, whoa, did I just do that in a few seconds? And then the light turned green and he went, and it was really interesting because everybody kept staring at me. All four corners, they were like, ooh, look at this girl. But the point is, I mean, if you practice, then you will surprise yourself in a good way too. So little things like, I get this asked all the time, oh, he was, I don't like this person, I'm friends with him, but he always hugs me and touches me, and I don't like it, but I don't know what to say. And it's practice, right? Practice speaking up, and start practicing talking to strangers. Yeah, exactly. Right? Start just practicing, even with your friends, gather a couple female friends and say, we're just going to role play this. Just practice, and slowly push your comfort zone a little bit by a little bit. So that's really important.